Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a really fascinating journey. We're going to trace the entire life cycle of a machine learning system. We're starting off in the pristine, idealized world of mathematical algorithms, where everything is neat and theoretically perfect, and we're going to follow it all the way out into the messy, complex reality of enterprise deployment and human ethics. Because, as we'll see, building an AI model in a lab is one thing, but deploying it fairly and reliably into the real world, well, that's an entirely different beast.
Here's a quick roadmap of how we're going to break this all down today. We'll start with the foundations of machine learning. Then, we'll look at the bias-variance trade-off. From there, we shift from the lab to production by scaling AI with MLOps. Next, we confront navigating algorithmic bias. And finally, we'll wrap up with mitigating ethical AI risks. Don't worry if this sounds like a lot. I promise we're going to connect the abstract math directly to real-world impact.
All right, Section 1, Foundations of Machine Learning. Let's talk about how machines actually learn.
Okay, let's dive into this. Before we can even talk about scaling or ethics, we really need to ground ourselves in how machines ingest data. At the highest level, we basically split machine learning into two main camps. On the left, we've got supervised learning. This is where we use clearly labeled data to teach a model to predict a known target answer. Think of it kind of like a teacher giving a student practice tests, and they actually have the answer key included. On the right, we have unsupervised learning. This is where the model is thrown into a massive sea of unlabeled data and asked to find hidden structures or patterns entirely on its own. No answer key provided. For our journey today, we're going to focus heavily on the supervised side.
So, within supervised learning, one of the absolute most fundamental tasks you'll encounter is regression. By definition, regression is a task where the predicted output is a continuous number. A classic, highly practical example of this is predicting the price of a used car. The inputs, what data scientists call features, might be multiple variables, right? Things like the car's mileage, its brand, the engine capacity, the year it was made. The machine learning program essentially fits a mathematical function to past car sales data to learn exactly how these multiple features predict the price, which is our continuous numerical output.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how one type of regression works visually. Instead of just trying to draw a straight line through a graph, a decision tree breaks the data down into a series of logical if-then conditions. Notice the binary splits there? The model asks a question at the top node, like, hey, is the mileage greater than a certain number? Depending on the answer, it splits left or right, moving down through the branches until it reaches those terminal nodes at the bottom. Each of those terminal nodes represents a final prediction based on that specific subset of data. It's just an incredibly intuitive way to see how a model juggles multiple features to make a decision.
Moving right along to Section 2, the bias-variance trade-off, finding the balance.
Now that we've got our mathematical models, we run into our first major roadblock. Perfect mathematical models constantly struggle against the messy constraints of real-world data. Let's define the two opposing forces in this struggle. First up, we have bias. In this context, bias is the error caused when our model makes overly simplifying assumptions. It basically fails to capture the true complex structure of the data. Imagine you're looking at a scatter plot of data that forms a very distinct U-shaped curve, but your model stubbornly tries to draw a perfectly straight line right through it. That straight line is just too simple. It has high bias. And as a result, it's going to perform terribly across all your data because it just fundamentally misunderstands the underlying shape of the problem.
On the exact flip side of that, we have variance. Variance is the error introduced when a model is way too sensitive to the tiny fluctuations and random noise in your specific training data. If high bias is drawing a straight line through a curve, high variance is like playing connect the dots with every single individual data point. A highly complex model with high variance essentially memorizes the training data perfectly, but the moment you show it new, unseen test data, boom, it fails entirely. Why? Because it learned the random noise, not the actual generalizable pattern.
So, the crucial point is that data scientists are constantly playing a tug-of-war between underfitting and overfitting. Underfitting is your high bias. The model is literally too dumb to learn the basic patterns. Overfitting is your high variance. The model is too complex and fails to generalize to the real world. Tuning a machine learning model is all about finding that Goldilocks zone right in the middle. Not too simple, not too complex.
Which brings us to Section 3, Scaling AI with MLOps, taking this into enterprise deployment.
Okay, let's assume we've balanced our trade-off perfectly and we've got a great model sitting in the lab. So how do we actually deploy these finely tuned algorithms at scale without everything immediately breaking? The answer is MLOps.
MLOps takes the rigorous software engineering principles of DevOps and applies them directly to machine learning. And why is this absolutely crucial? Because machine learning models are not like standard software code. A normal app doesn't magically change its behavior over time, but an ML model, it definitely does. If you just leave a model sitting in a simple Jupyter notebook and throw it into production, you're going to rack up massive technical debt. MLOps ensures we migrate those models into automated pipelines so they can be reliably deployed, continuously monitored, and actively maintained.
So what does that actually look like? Well, here are the essential MLOps best practices you need to implement to keep models from degrading. You've got to version everything, and I mean not just the code, but the data and the models themselves. You need automated integration and deployment pipelines, but the absolute most critical piece here is setting event-based retraining triggers. Why? Because of something called data drift. The real world changes constantly. Think about our car example. If you trained your car pricing model in 2019, the post-2020 market data is going to look completely different. If you don't monitor for that drift and automatically trigger retrainings, your model's accuracy will just plummet. And of course, you need to monitor actual business KPIs, not just the math metrics, to ensure the model is actually delivering real value.
Now, what's really interesting here is just how vast the tooling ecosystem has become to support all of this. When breaking down MLOps by production stage, you need a whole village of tools. You've got Git and MLflow for versioning. You're using tools like Airflow or Kubeflow to automate those pipelines. Deployment might rely on something heavy-duty like Amazon SageMaker. And for monitoring that dangerous data drift we just talked about, you're plugging into dashboards like Grafana or Evidently. It literally takes an entire integrated ecosystem just to keep a single model healthy out there in the wild.
All right, Section 4, Navigating Algorithmic Bias, where ethics meets reality.
Now we shift to what is, undoubtedly, our most critical friction point. What happens when our hyper-efficient algorithms collide with human ethics? There are 4 primary types of bias that can infect an AI system. We've got algorithmic bias, data bias, human bias in development, and bias in model training. The frankly terrifying reality here is that AI systems are basically like mirrors. If you feed an algorithm historical data that contains human prejudice, the AI doesn't know it's being prejudiced. It just thinks it found a highly optimized mathematical pattern. So these systems often unknowingly replicate and then rapidly scale the historical discrimination that's already hidden in their training data. If you're wondering why this matters so immensely, just look at these documented, real-world consequences. We have facial recognition systems that misclassify women and people of color at up to 30% higher rates than white men. We see healthcare diagnostic AI actually underperforming for minority populations, which directly impacts equity of care. Major tech companies have literally had to scrap hiring algorithms because the model learned to penalize resumes that included the word women's. And predictive policing algorithms have been shown to disproportionately target minority neighborhoods based on flawed historical arrest data. This isn't abstract math anymore, guys. These are tangible, serious impacts on human lives and human rights.
Finally, Section 5, Mitigating Ethical AI Risks, Engineering Actual Fairness.
Let's move to and see how this builds. We've identified the massive ethical problems. So how do we actually fix them? This framework systematically traces exactly where fairness interventions can and absolutely must be injected at every single stage of the machine learning lifecycle. Notice that it's not just some band-aid you slap on at the end. It requires proactive interventions during data collection, all the way through feature engineering, during model evaluation, and continuously through deployment.
Let's break those interventions down into 4 precise steps that organizations have to take. Step 1 is data pre-processing. This means actively balancing and anonymizing your data sets before the model even sees them, so you aren't feeding it skewed history. Step 2 is modeling methods, actually embedding fairness metrics directly into the algorithm's math, essentially punishing the model during training if it acts discriminatorily. Step 3 is post-processing, tweaking the final output thresholds to actively reduce disparate impacts across different demographic groups. And finally, Step 4 is explainable AI or XAI. We have to break open these black box algorithms. If a model denies you a loan, it must be able to explain exactly why, enabling transparent audits to establish real user trust and accountability.
So, what does this all mean for us? We've gone from the math of decision trees to the infrastructure of MLOps, right down to the ethics of algorithmic bias. But as these AI systems grow more autonomous and integrate deeper and deeper into our daily lives, the ultimate question rests with the people building and deploying them. What steps will you take to ensure that the algorithms you interact with, design, or deploy prioritize human equity just as highly as they prioritize predictive accuracy? It's a huge challenge, but it's one we all have to face as we step into this AI-driven future. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this gave you a powerful framework for understanding the complete machine learning lifecycle.